So good morning. I'd like to call the Bruce County Council meeting to order. First up, we have the roll call. Betty Ann.
Mr. Buckle? Mrs. Eady? Present. Mr. Eagleson? Present. Mr. Engels? Present. Ms. Jackson? Mr. McKeever? Mr. Smith? Present. Warden Tulin?
Present. This time I'd ask members of council if there's any declaration of pecuniary interest now, or if it arises down the agenda, please do so. Next up, confirmation of council minutes from May the 5th.
Moved by Mr. Engels, seconded by Mr. Buckle, that the minutes of the May 5th, 2016 council session be adopted as circulated.
Were there any errors, omissions, or discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor, opposed if any, that is carried. Thank you. Next up is communications. Betty Ann.
Communications have been referred to council, and there are no further communications.
Thank you. There's a bunch of them this month. County officer reports. Are there any county officer reports this morning? See none. Inquiries and announcements. Well, I have one. What are you smiling? Do you even know anything about this? Anyways, Kelly represented the province this past year as president of OMAA, and so today we just want to thank Kelly for that achievement, because that sure put Bruce County on the map. So for that, we congratulate you and your term, and I think Betty Ann has a couple little tidbits too, and you're not supposed to get mad at Betty Ann for any of this. So
Yes, we were very delighted as the senior management team to today to recognize our CAO, Kelly Coulter, for her term as the president of the Ontario Municipal Administrators Association. And one would recognize that as a very daunting task, but Kelly seemed to do it with ease and still maintain all of the responsibilities and keep us all in order back here at Bruce County. But the Ontario Municipal Administrators Association has sent a letter, and I'd like to read it for members of council. Warden Tulin and members of Bruce County Council, I write to you as president of the Ontario Municipal Administrators Association to express on behalf of our members sincere appreciation for the commitment to our organization by your Chief Administrative Officer, Kelly Coulter. Our association has been in existence for over 58 years as an organization devoted exclusively to supporting the Province of Ontario Chief Administrative Officers. Our membership is comprised of individuals who exercise all-encompassing management responsibilities for their municipal corporation. Collectively, OMAA strives to enhance good governance by promoting leadership, excellence in local government, administration for municipalities throughout the province. Kelly has just completed her term as president. During the past year, she has led several new initiatives aimed at strengthening the council-manager system of local government, the foundation of effective municipal government in Ontario. Also, her commitment to the betterment of the association and OMAA's focus on professional development of our members was truly exceptional. On behalf of the Board of Directors and members of OMAA, we express our most genuine thanks to Kelly. In addition to Kelly's significant work for OMAA, we also wish to acknowledge the County Bruce Council for your support of senior management participation in municipal staff associations. Together, we are all working towards superior municipal government in Ontario. Gary Dyke, OMAA President and City Manager of the City of Cambridge. In addition to that, as if that wasn't enough, Kelly has also been recognized by the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators for a Long Service Recognition Award program, which recognizes and celebrates the dedication to public service and municipal management of our members, which is a significant priority for our association. These awards are based on the number of years of full-time employment in municipal government in a management capacity. They are granted at 10 and given in 5-year increments. This year, we acknowledge the commitment of your Chief Administrative Officer, Ms. Kelly Coulter, for her 10 years of municipal service in a management capacity. And they've just asked us in recognizing Kelly for her ongoing support of the municipal profession and for the part that she continues to play in helping to make CAMA the leading organization in fostering and sustaining municipal excellence. Our sincere gratitude to you for your continued support of this valued member and dedicated employee of your organization. And we congratulate Kelly.
So Kelly, if you would come up to the front, we do have a couple little things for you. Taking pictures?
Yes, Kathy is our photographer. OMA recognized Kelly with a lovely award, and we've stolen it off her wall to show it today. Do you want one with the flowers?
Yes. Did you want to say anything, Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and I had no idea, so I am quite speechless and very grateful, and I couldn't have been able to do the role without obviously the support of the Warden and County Council, which I truly appreciated, and the everyday support from all of the senior management team, and in particular, Darlene, my executive assistant, who on a couple of occasions would have been very much forgiven for maybe losing it with me, and she never did. So thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Kelly. Okay, so we'll go back to delegations. First up, we have...
Is there any more announcements?
Oh, sorry, yes?
I have a very, very important announcement,
Yes, sir?
which, do you have any other announcements? It is June.
I don't think so.
If not, then Warden Mitchell, with your permission, will suggest that my announcement is more of a presentation. On behalf of County Council and staff and the citizens of Bruce County, we want to congratulate you on a successful term of the mayors in Great Lakes cities and the St. Lawrence Initiative from 2015 to 2016. The organization are an active voice in the protection and restoration of the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence River. We at Bruce County have over 200 kilometers of water frontage. County Council appreciate your work and representation of the county. At the annual meeting being held June the 15th to 17th in Niagara Falls, New York, the baton will be passed to a new chair. We wanted to give you a small token to show our pride in your work and appreciation of raising the profile of Bruce County. In October, you led the group to their inaugural Queen's Park Legislative Day. In December the 2015th, you represented us in Paris, France during the World Conference on Climate Change. In late February and early March, you represented us in Washington at the White House. As chair, you were instrumental in the launch of the Best Practices Library, which will have a significant positive impact on Bruce County. In April, as chair, the position of the Waukesha application for water diversion application in Wisconsin, you were there as chair in April. And all the while, you filled your duties as you were filling your duties as chair, you successfully served as our warden, as the mayor of Urin-Kinloss. You found the time somehow to get yourself married, go on a fairly lengthy honeymoon, come home just in time to take the family back to Florida, and all the while checking in on the real estate office to see how your very excellent salespeople were doing. On behalf of County Council Mitchell, we are very proud of your work and we just want to thank you and present you with a small token of our appreciation.
Wow. Wow, I really like surprises like that. Thank you very much, Mr. Eagleson. It's been a really rewarding year, to say the least, and obviously I can't hold these types of positions without the support of my county council and local council, so thank you again very much, and thank you. All right, if there's no further announcements or inquiries, then I would move to delegations. First up, we have Mr. Mann. The podium is yours.
Thank you, Warden. Those are tough acts to follow, but congratulations to you, Warden. Congratulations to you, Kelly. Minister McKenna's ordered alternate DGR site studies must include the group of 5 Bruce County municipalities that support the OPG DGR, including my town of Saugeen Shores, the twin nuclear town to Kincardine, and adding another decade to the process before finding a suitable DGR site. Number 1, Minister McKenna has ordered OPG to study alternate DGR sites. 2, the 5 municipalities of Saugeen Shores, Huron-Kinloss, Brockton, South Bruce, and Erin-Elderslie, known as the Group of 5, must be first in line to be studied in the same manner over a period of 10 years as their neighbor municipality of Kincardine, who has heretofore stolen the limelight. Number 3, the hosting agreement between Kincardine and OPG for the OPG DGR requires that each of the 5 neighboring municipalities be studied as alternate DGR sites. After all, in the hosting agreement, OPG intentionally set up a 30-year payment plan for Saugeen Shores, Huron-Kinloss, South Bruce, Brockton, and Erin-Elderslie to receive exorbitant taxpayer dollars each year from 2005 through 2034. The only catch was that Saugeen Shores, Huron-Kinloss, Brockton, South Bruce, and Erin-Elderslie individually, as well as collectively, were required to use best efforts to support the OPG DGR. And what constituted best efforts was to be determined solely by the discretion of OPG. Number 4, so from 2005 to the current day, the 5 neighboring municipalities have unwaveringly used their best efforts to support the OPG DGR. OPG has confirmed the best efforts through paying each municipality as promised in the hosting agreement. 5, for over 10 years now, the continuous and unwavering and glowing support confirmed on the public record by the 5 supporting municipalities establishes that each would certainly welcome the opportunity to be the site for the OPG DGR. Not only would that opportunity present huge benefits to the winning site that Kincardine alone is now and will in the future enjoy over this group of 5, each and every municipality has to agree that the best site is the best for all of us. And the only way to determine where the best DGR site is located is for each municipality of the group of 5 to go through the same 10-year rigorous study previously done related to the Kincardine proposed site. Number 6, alas, in response to Minister McKenna's order directing OPG to conduct alternate DGR site studies, OPG has unilaterally set a self-imposed deadline for the alternate DGR studies to be completed by December 31, 2016, woefully short of the required minimum of the 10 years it takes to study just one DGR site. 7, therefore, Minister McKenna must immediately clarify to OPG that OPG must conduct the same 10-year study for each alternate DGR site, and OPG's proposed 8-month study will not suffice. And of course, added to this 10-year study minimum for each site, OPG must then study the proposed alternate DGR sites against one another to come up with a winner best in DGR. 8, One would think OPG would welcome this opportunity, particularly since OPG was so successful on gaining support from the group of 5. Not so, however. OPG has inexplicably sent a letter to Minister McKenna that OPG has no intention of conducting alternate site studies other than brief windshield computer-modeled studies of 2 undisclosed sites to confirm that Kincardine is the best site. This is called, quote, confirmation bias, end quote, evidence that well-respected Court of Appeal Justice Gouge condemned in his unprecedented inquiry into flawed expert evidence. Number 9, the group of 5 appears to be in a possible catch-22. For instance, if Saugeen Shores does not seek to be an alternate DGR site, will OPG consider that Saugeen Shores is not using its best efforts to support the OPG DGR and dock Saugeen Shores exorbitant taxpayer payments under the hosting agreement, as well as payments to the other members of the group of 5, because there must be unanimity in best efforts, all for one for all, before any payment is made to any of the group of 5. And let's not forget, the hosting agreement payments are paid only through the discretion of OPG, whatever that means. And that is the cavalier way OPG handles our citizen and taxpayer dollars. Of course, if Saugeen Shores does not seek to be a possible alternative DGR site, or is at least lukewarm about it, OPG would have to consider that Saugeen Shores is not using best efforts to support the OPG DGR. But according to the December deadline letter to Minister McKenna, OPG has made it crystal clear that Kincardine is the only DGR site for OPG, and all others be damned. In fact, one of OPG's big selling points to the JRP was that the waste being stored in the DGR is already stored above ground on site in Kincardine, and the costs and dangers associated with transporting the waste to a DGR somewhere off site are eliminated. Good old 2-track 2DGR allowed OPG to get away with this argument that will be fatal to any eventual consideration of a DGR that is off-site for spent fuel, and therefore requiring the highly radioactively dangerous spent fuel to have to be transported off-site. OPG certainly does not want to bother with a group of 5 as alternate DGR sites, particularly since OPG made and are making the 30 years of payments to each of the group of 5 to silence any neighboring municipality opposition to Kincardine obtaining all the benefits. It calls into serious question about NWMO's 10-year studies of any and all municipalities interested in being the host site for the spent fuel DGR. And don't forget, OPG created NWMO, owns 95% of NWMO, and has interchangeable employees. The eventual Trojan horse located at the Kincardine OPG DGR site for clothes and rags starts to look very attractive for spent fuel replacing harmless clothes and rags that need no special handling and no special protection and no DGR. Number 10, but you say, hey John, Saugeen Shores has already been knocked out of the spent fuel DGR sweepstakes hosted by NWMO, albeit unilaterally and without any evidentiary support. It is true that NWMO has determined that the geology of Saugeen Shores is not safe for a DGR. It is also true, however, that OPG has testified at the JRP public hearings that OPG only studied the proposed Kincardine DGR site for suitability for low and intermediate level nuclear waste, and not for high-level spent fuel nuclear waste. Therefore, even with NWMO's unsafe conclusion for a spent fuel DGR in Saugeen Shores can still be considered as a suitable site for low and intermediate nuclear waste. In my view, if the geology is not safe for high-level nuclear waste, it is not safe for low and intermediate nuclear waste. But OPG disagrees, once again making a strong case for being a leader for incompetent decisions. And obviously, if Saugeen Shores is not safe for a DGR for low and intermediate nuclear waste, it is impossible for Kincardine to be safe for a DGR a mere few kilometers away, particularly over geologic time of forever. Number 11. From the very beginning, as noted in my extensive record, I have always questioned OPG and DGR and the DGR process and how it was ever possible that my municipality was ever left out of the DGR site selection process. Well, we found out from OPG at the JRP public hearings that inexplicably there simply was no DGR site selection process, something that is required for the most minor government project, let alone the biggest government project ever created in the form of the fatally flawed and irresponsible 2-track 2DGR. Fortunately, Minister McKenna recognized this fatal error of no DGR site selection process and now requires OPG to conduct the studies. I request this council to seek all the council's in Bruce County to seek being studied as an alternate site for the OPG DGR proposed for Kincardine, in the same way that it sought to be a host site for the spent fuel DGR. The others in the group of 5 must follow suit. 12, in my view, the fatal error of ignoring the mandatory DGR site selection process requires the OPG DGR application to be dismissed immediately, particularly since the studies will take a minimum of 10 years to complete and is impractical, as well as plain ridiculous to adjourn the minister's decision for at least a decade. Furthermore, a decade from now, we'll have the spent fuel DGR process much further along than the clothes and rags DGR process that has now been derailed by Minister McKenna. 13, conclusion. OPG, Minister McKenna, Saugeen Shores, and the group of 5 are all clearly boxed into a further process that will take at a minimum 10 more years, while the spent fuel DGR process will be completed long before. Stop the two-track 2 DGR process and the commensurate waste of taxpayer dollars when only one DGR is necessary. Please dismiss the OPG DGR application. 14. If the OPG DGR application is not dismissed, in light of Saugeen Shores, Aaron Kinloss, Brockton, South Bruce, and Aaron Eldersley's unwavering support of the OPG DGR, I request that Saugeen Shores and this group of 5 seek to be studied as alternate DGR sites pursuant to Minister McKenna's order to OPG. Thank you, and I include on my email thread that I also filed. Thank you, Ward, and thank you, Council.
Good, thank you, John. Are there any questions for Mr. Mann this morning? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you. I think I kept it under 10 minutes, too.
You did well.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, next up we have Rebecca Webb, Regional Manager, and Anthony Fleming, Account Manager, Municipal and Stakeholder Relations for the Municipal Property Assessment Corp. The podium is yours. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for including MPAC on your agenda today, and I would like to extend congratulations to your warden and to Kelly on all the good work that you do for municipalities within your local area as well as across the province, and extend our congratulations from MPAC. And I must add that I had the opportunity to meet with Kelly at the recent OMAA meeting, and I just wanted to share with you how respected she was by her peers and what a great leader she represented, and gave a warm welcome to MPAC, I must add. Thank you. So I am one of the 7 regional managers across the province of Ontario representing the municipal and stakeholder relations team for MPAC. And with me today, I have Anthony Fleming, who is an account manager who is representing Bruce County. So we're just going to have a look today at the reassessment and what's been going on over the last 4 years with MPAC as we prepare for this reassessment, as well as a look at some of the tools and information that we have available for property owners and municipalities, and then a look at the market trends in your area. So just as a start, wanted to have a look at what's involved with the property assessment and taxation system in Ontario. So really, we know there's 3 main parties. There's ourselves, MPAC, who are responsible for assessing the properties throughout Ontario and providing their classification. So that's whether it's residential, commercial, that type of thing. And then there's also the province, who is responsible for setting the legislation and the policy in which we operate under. They're also responsible for setting the provincial education tax rates and for the Assessment Review Board, which is an independent assessment tribunal. And then there's yourselves, the municipalities, who are responsible for the revenue requirements to provide the services for your residents and to set the tax rates. And really, we all work together to make this system. Ontario has a 4-year assessment cycle. It started way back in 2008, and we're just embarking on the 2016 reassessment. So the legislated valuation date is January 1st, 2016, and that's for taxation from the 2017 to the 2020 taxation years. MPAC is responsible for assessing over 5 million properties across the province of Ontario, and not surprisingly, the majority of those, about 4.5 million, are residential. And they comprise over $2.3 trillion in assessment. So looking to what has changed from last time around to now, and really you can see here that the bulk of all the valuation, the heavy lifting of how we came up with these values is really done in the same year that the assessment roll was delivered to municipalities. And this time around, we've been reviewing our property values since early on in 2014. Really to be more transparent with the municipalities, improve our data collection and our valuation process. So with regards to data collection and preparation, we've been collecting data for the last 4 years, and we refer to those as data touch points. So across our Zone 5, there's been over 290,000 data touch points. And those are really information that we receive from your local building departments, from your planning departments with severances, consolidation of properties, requests for reconsiderations, property sales that we receive. So all of these trigger an event that we touch the data in your municipality. And so in Bruce County, there's been over 37,000 data touch points. And that's a lot of work that's been done over the last 4 years, considering there's about 31,000 properties in your jurisdiction. The other important thing is that we're looking at transparency and a shared understanding of our property values. And we're doing this through what we call the advanced disclosure process. So there's really 3 levels of this disclosure. The first is the methodology guides, which are really comprehensive guides that are posted on our website about our different properties. And then there's a level 2, which is really the comprehensive guides. I refer to it as the recipe for how we came up with specific values for certain property classes. And then there's level 3, which is your property assessment notices. So for the residential properties, it's those notices that they just received. Some of the benefits of the advanced disclosure really is that there's an opportunity for both the municipality and the property owners to provide their input into what they're seeing with the property values, to provide feedback and documentation, and analyze the information, and really for a goal for no surprises, and to improve the stability and the predictability of the assessment roll once returned to municipalities. So property assessment notices have been delivered earlier than ever before. Really about 4 to 6 months earlier in some cases. And so we started delivering these notices to municipalities on April 4th and are continuing right through the summer. And here in Bruce County, they were delivered to your property owners for residential properties May 24th. Now, farmland and business properties, you'll notice, will be going out in October. Amended notices, so any changes that have occurred, will go out in November prior to the closing of the assessment roll in December. And one thing that we want to note about the residential property notice is that it is just single partition residential property notices that are being delivered. And that's important in your area because of the farmland. So the farmland values are not going out until October. So if you have a property, which quite often you have a residential home with your farmland on one roll number, those notices will not be delivered until October. So what can your residential property owners expect to see from MPAC? Well, their assessment notice has changed. And really we took the call from municipalities and property owners that the previous notice was a little bit cumbersome and hard to understand and cluttered. And so we looked to some plain language specialists, we looked to property owners, municipalities, and the province of Ontario to come up with a document that was easy to understand and clear and concise, and provides information really about the property assessment that they on their property. So first of all, in the top right corner of the notice, it clearly states that this is a property assessment notice, which will be important for you to note. As a councillor, you often get phone calls, and so not unlike your property tax bill, which in the top right-hand corner, it notes that it is a property tax bill. This also states that it's for the 2017 to the 2020 taxation year, which is also important because I believe that a lot of the tax bills are going out at the same time that these notices are, and so it can be confusing for the property owner to understand the difference between the 2016 property value assessment compared to the 2016 taxation, which are two totally different items. The notices were issued in your area on May 24th. And that issue date is municipally specific, and it is very important because of the changes with respect to Bill 144. So now property owners have 120 days from the date that notice was issued if they want to put in a request for reconsideration with MPAC. And that is a big change for the property owners. Previously, that date was March 31st. And so we want to make sure that they're well aware that their notices were issued in May, their request for reconsideration date is September 21st. The property assessment notice clearly indicates what your previous assessment was in 2012, what your new assessment is for January 1st, 2016, and what value is really going to be phased in over the next 4 years. It also clearly lays out the 4-year phase-in and the request for reconsideration deadline for each of those 4 years. So again, just to let you know, the residential property assessment notice is May 24th. The appeal deadline is September 21st. And then in the fall for the conservation, farm, managed forest, and business properties. So to use up all the real estate, the back of the notice also indicates what the 5 main factors are involved in assessing property, which we often get questions about, right? So that's location. You know, often we say location, location, location. It's the dimensions of your property, the dimensions of the buildings, the lot coverage, the quality of construction, and the year that it was constructed. And then we also include property details that correlate back to those 5 main factors. And then we give information about my property and how to review your property assessment, and then information that we just reviewed earlier on about the property assessment and taxation system in Ontario. So how can I learn more about my assessment? So if you're getting asked questions from the public, this is a good one. Go to aboutmyproperty.ca. Property owners can have a look at their own property values, see all attributes, how we came up with those values. You can have a look at about 100 different properties and have a snapshot of what's going on with those values. You can have 24 comprehensive reports on properties in your neighborhood. And it also shows you on the maps, you know, the sales. So it highlights where the sales are in your community so you can easily locate them and review them. And then the other great thing is the new market trends. So really you can just click in here. It's kind of like Google, and you put in any location in your municipality and it comes up with this map. So here we have South Bruce Peninsula, and all the bubbles represent the areas or the neighborhoods in your community. And you can hover over them and see how many property counts are included in that bubble, what the percentage increase is, and the value of those properties in the neighborhood. So property owners can really get an idea of their values. For those aren't so familiar with the website and like that information to take home, we have pamphlets that look at MPAC and what we're all about, information about the notice that we just went over, how we come up with the property values for residential properties, and then really a whole gamut of brochures, you know, from farmland right over to condominiums. So in resolving assessment concerns, one of the first things we like to tell a property owner is have a look at your notice. Could you have sold your property on January 1st, 2016 for that value? If the answer is yes, then just tuck it away for another day. You're good. If you're not sure, you know, like lots of us, you have no intention of selling your property, you love where you live, and it isn't even a thought. Well, that's when About My Property can be very handy, where you can go in and look at your neighborhood and get an idea that you really are being assessed fairly compared to properties in your area. If you still aren't sure, then give MPAC a call at our customer contact center. And if you still feel that your property value is not where it should be, then you can put in a request for reconsideration or appeal ultimately to the Assessment Review Board. So here just as a leave behind for you, it's our customer contact center information, and really we look at a decentralized way of triaging our phone calls, because not all of the experts are located in the area in which you live. And so we want to make sure that when customers are making that phone call, that they're getting to the person that can help them. So enhancing the municipal experience. So we're really excited about Municipal Connect. So it's been around probably 16 years and has been totally revamped, and is really the tool that municipalities will use for the advanced disclosure process throughout 2016 and beyond. And in Bruce County, we were here about a week ago and did training for all your municipal administration staff, and we had some good feedback from them. And really, this product is going to support them with, their budgeting, and in here you can have a dashboard, you can look at their weighted assessments, you can customize it, and you can look at all your appeals, which is great for your municipal administration. They can keep on top of that. They can even set their favorites. We also have a toolkit, which will be very handy, and that has been delivered to the municipalities across Bruce County. And really what it has is our contact information and some key messages that can be handed off to your frontline staff, as well as the municipal politicians may find those handy when you're getting questions. It includes changes to the request for reconsiderations and all the things that we just really went through. It has social media information, a lot of plug and play things that you can put right on your websites. You don't have to have website experts in order to do it. And all the information is there for municipalities to use. You can put it into whatever format you like. And one of the great things that we're excited about is that we have 4 YouTube videos. We have our own YouTube channel, and that information can also be put on your local websites and has been included in the toolkit for you. And one of the really good ones is looks at the correlation between property assessment and taxation, which helps the property owner understand that not always a change in your assessment value means a change in your taxes. So the preliminary market trends. So we already know that the property owners are looking at the market trends online at aboutmyproperty.ca. And so we've just provided here for each of you the market trend maps that are on the website for each of your municipalities. And really encourage you to go in and have a look. And then finally, this is just a summary of the information that the property owners are seeing, and that is important for you to know. So Bruce County, really with this reassessment for residential properties and single-family homes, we're not seeing much of an impact. It is very much a steady state. Though like in all communities, there are pockets where you're going to see values increase or decrease differently in different neighborhoods. And so we are seeing that a little bit in Concardin and some of the other areas where the values have decreased slightly. And these percentages are reflective of the change from the 2016 to the 2017 taxation years. Now this slide has a look at the change in value from the 2012 current value assessment to the January 1st, 2016 current value assessment. And we have a look here at the typical single-family residential home in your communities. And that's at about $227,000 average across Bruce County. And really not much of a change from the previous years, as I mentioned. So if there's any questions, actually I can leave that slide up. Everybody was kind of looking at it there.
Good. Well, thank you, Rebecca, for that presentation. Any comments or questions from council? Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. First of all, can I get a copy of that presentation? I would certainly like, if Yeah, second, a couple of questions then. The first one goes back to our notices for residential go out in May, and then the amended notices will be November. But farm, and those other ones won't go to October, so will there be another amended notice period for those? Because those amended notices invariably will be from a request for reconsideration or an appeal of some sort. Is that correct?
Yes, so if there's any changes in those values in February, which is the deadline for that appeal, then municipalities will get a notification of that change, but it will be after the assessment roll has closed. So they'll get minutes of settlement, which will cause a change in the assessed value of the property, and the municipalities will make those adjustments in-house.
Okay, and just this one here, and I often get asked questions about why a particular house in one community or an average assessment in one community is significantly different than another. And it's kind of hard to explain, but sometimes it's kind of hard to explain. I certainly like those numbers, but when you talk about a single-family assessment, that is an average of residential or single-family homes in that community. Is that correct?
It's a typical property, and so I don't believe mathematically it's the average. It would be the median. So where the most number of properties are in your community are valued at that $227,000.
Ann?
So just comparing us and Saugeen Shores, we maybe have more farm residential, and how do they fit in when you say the typical property is $244,000? Again, it's the median. Do you take into consideration every house up and down the concessions? Or is it just, how do you do that?
So included in here is all the residential single-family homes across all of Bruce County. And so when we refer to them as single partition, which means that there isn't anything else on the property really except for a residence, unless it's, a garage or something that's specific to the home.
Oh, so you don't count the farms then? So I lived in a farm and we had a house and we got our assessment on the house, but we had other buildings, other farm buildings. So you're only counting the severed properties?
So if your property is a true farm in the sense where it's being worked and you're receiving the farmland tax class, which is 25% of the residential class, in that case, those property values are not being released until September. So if you have a farm property tax class and a residential property tax class on the same property, or for instance, a wind turbine on the same property, then those notices will not be issued until October. And they are not included in any of this analysis.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions or comments? Betty Ann?
I just wanted to add for the information for our mayors that Rebecca and Anthony and a couple other members from MPAC were here last Wednesday. We did, the county hosted for the local treasurers and tax collectors a very informative, hands-on review of Municipal Connect 2, and it is a very powerful tool, and we're very pleased with it. It is going to enhance the work of the lower tier treasurers immensely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? I just have to comment, this first year, I don't think I've received a call after the assessment notices have gone out, so people are being very quiet. And as a realtor, we go and say, and that's a very good question that you ask people, would you sell your home for what it's assessed at? Of course not, it's worth more than that. We hear that. So that is a very good comment that we realtors use all the time as well, so. Ann?
I just forgot, I'd like a copy of the presentation as well. I don't know whether you're planning on giving it to everybody or not.
It will be circulated. We try to provide the bit of suspense before the presentation, so and it will be posted to the county website as a delegation.
Okay, thanks.
Good, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have PG Lise Morton, Director of Low and Intermediate Level Waste Operations. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. So yes, as you said, my name is Lise Morton. I'm the Director of Low and Intermediate Level Waste Operations at the Western Waste Management Facility. I'm located at the site, and I'm accountable for the operations of our current facility. With me today is Donna Pawlowski, who's a Senior Manager with OPG working on strategic initiatives and is very familiar with the responses that we're giving to the Minister, and so can provide some answers to some of your questions. I'd like to thank Council for providing us the time to address you today, and we wanted to give you an update on where we're at on the DGR project. Let me make sure I can get this, okay. So again, I'll give you an update today on OPG's DGR project and on the Federal Minister's request for additional information, what they've asked us for, and what we intend to provide. And of course, we'll be open for questions at the end of the presentation. So again, just to recap, and I know many of you are familiar with the project, of course, but I'll just go through a reminder that we are planning to build a deep geologic repository at the Bruce Nuclear Site in Kincardine. The facility will safely store all the low and intermediate level waste from OPG's owned and operated nuclear facilities. It is intended to be 680 meters underground in a stable limestone rock formation. And as many of you know, the plan has been very studied for many, many years, for over a decade now. We believe that it's a plan that's supported by some very strong science and analysis, and that has been validated by a very rigorous environmental assessment review. And of course, again, many of you will be familiar with the proceedings that we've been going through. We are still going through the regulatory approvals phase for a site preparation and construction license. And in 2011, we submitted the environmental assessment report. Again, as many of you would be aware, a joint review panel was appointed by the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. And we held public hearings that lasted 33 days over the course of a 2-year period. Last year, the Joint Review Panel did issue its report to the Federal Minister of the Environment, and their primary conclusion was that the project is not likely to cause significant adverse environmental effects. The Joint Review Panel's report, we believe, is a strong validation of the strong science that we have done, and some of their conclusions were that the Bruce Nuclear Site is appropriate for this type of facility, that worker and public health and safety will be protected, and that the project will not affect Lake Huron. Earlier this year, we received a letter from the Minister asking us for some additional information, and I will be going through the additional information that the Minister has asked us for in the next couple of slides, and how we are intending to answer the Minister's request. So I'll go through that now rather than summarize it here. So the first thing that the Minister asked us was to examine the environmental effects of alternate locations. So our plan currently is to look at what it would take to place a DGR in 2 geologic regions in Ontario, both a sedimentary rock formation and a granite rock formation. And so you can see on the map, we're looking at, again, 2 regional areas, if you will, of Ontario. And we will develop site selection criteria and describe alternate sites in these regions. For the purposes of identifying environmental effects, you need to describe a project. So for this study, we are assuming that the project is the same project that we currently have described for the Bruce site, but we will have to make some additional assumptions. So such as, and they're listed on the slide, again, OPG does not own land in some of these areas, so therefore we need to study what it would take to acquire land in those areas. The study will have to look at the effects of packaging and transportation of the radioactive waste. So all of the waste that is currently at the Western Waste Management Facility would have to be repackaged and transported to an alternate site. And then, of course, there are some environmental effects related to that we would have to look at. And we will be looking at the economic impacts as well, which the Minister did ask us to look at. So I just want to reemphasize that the study is not seeking a new willing host community, and we do not believe that that is what the Minister has asked us to do. We all understand, having been through this process, that seeking a new willing host community is a multi-year endeavor, and that is not what the study is intended to do. Our town have a draft of the study available by October of this year, and to share those results before we submit the final report to the minister. And we have responded to the minister indicating what our timeline is, which is to complete these studies and submit the entire thing to the minister by December of 2016, by the end of this year. The second thing that the minister has asked us to look at is what the potential combined effects of having a repository for used fuel located near the low and intermediate level DGR would be. So as everybody, I believe, is aware, but I'll just emphasize again, there are two separate programs. OPG's DGR is for our low and intermediate operational waste, and the Nuclear Waste Management Organization, NWMO, has a separate program for used fuel. And as you're well aware, some communities in the Bruce area have been and are participating in that program. So again, we need to look at what the potential cumulative effects of two repositories being located near each other would be. And so we have to make a number of assumptions. We have to assume that there's a used fuel repository near the DGR study area, and we have to make assumptions about what that would look like. And so again, we plan on having that completed this fall, and we will be collaborating with the NWMO and with SON to best understand any potential effects within their traditional territory. And again, that was something that the minister requested of us. The third request from the minister is more administrative in nature, and it's to compile and undertake a complete list of all the commitments that have been made by OPG and all the mitigating actions. That is well underway now, so that we have one comprehensive list of commitments that were made through the hearings, through documents, et cetera. So that's currently targeted to be complete as well by October. So again, the three reports will be submitted, or the three requests from the minister will be submitted in December. Then in terms of what happens, that is really up to the Canadian Environmental Assessment Agency. They are the lead agency on this, and they will determine what happens next. We have not yet heard what that will look like, what those next steps will look like. They may issue reports for public review or comment or do something else. Again, we are not currently familiar with what their next step would be. And as we say on the slide, our preference would be to seek public comment on the submissions. In parallel, of course, we'll continue to provide updates on where we're at on the various studies. Information will be posted on our website as it's available, and we will seek public and stakeholder views and comments on the proposed work. So we're very interested in any views you may have on the project and our latest submission. So this is a high-level diagram showing the timeline from now to the submission at year end. And again, we do not know when the government will make a decision once they receive the report at the end of 2016. We've just indicated that it will be sometime after we submit that report. So again, we don't control that process, and we are not familiar with what that timeline will look like. So again, just to reiterate, it is our view that the Bruce nuclear site is the preferred location for the DGR. We will continue to answer all requests for additional information, and we are on track to provide the minister with that submission by year end. We think the information will enable the minister to make a decision on the environmental assessment, and then if that is positive, that would allow a site preparation and construction license to be issued. Once issued, our next steps are that we would complete the detailed engineering design, begin construction, and then we would need to seek another license to operate, and we anticipate that would likely include public hearings. So it will take some time, and we are looking at what that timeline might look like. So that is my presentation, and I'm certainly open to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Lise. Any questions from council? Comments? Anne?
I don't have any particular questions, but I really appreciate the update as the willing host community. And it's a very interesting process, and it's just nice to have an update, and we'll look forward to your next one.
Thank you.
Good. Anything else? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Reports, Betty Ann.
All the reports have been circulated.
Thank you. Minutes.
Moved by Mr. Engels, seconded by Mr. Buckle, that the minutes of the following committees be approved. May 5th, 2016, Executive Committee, Planning and Development, Corporate Services Committee, Museum Committee, Homes Committee, Social Services and Housing Committee, Emergency Services Committee. May 19th, 2016, Planning and Development Committee, Highways Committee, Museum Committee.
Are there any errors, omissions, or discussions from any of those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Are there any further motions?
No further motions.
Unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business this morning? Paul, you don't have anything else to spring on us today? Okay, thank you.
Moved by Mr. McKeever, seconded by Mr. Eagleson, that the following bylaw be adopted, 2016-47, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the County of Bruce at its meeting held the 9th day of June, 2016.
Are there any discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you.
Moved by Mr. Eagleson, seconded by Mr. McKeever, that we do now adjourn to meet Thursday, July 7th, 2016, in the Township of Huron, Kinloss, for summer session.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you.